everyone, polite and welcome to part 7 of the car modelling technique guide. So this is part 2 of the interior, and today we're going to deal with building up the photo etch ribbon seatbelts and showing you how they're built up and installed inside the car. Like I said last time, we had to break up into 2 parts, and I thought it was worth showing this in a bit more detail because the instructions for these things when you buy them in a set are rather confusing. I've simplified it a bit, cheated a little bit, and this is the way I do it. And as I always say, it might not be the right way, but it's the way I do it, and so I've been doing it for quite some time. It's not the cheapest way, the decals are a cheaper way, and like I say, I'll show you a couple of different ways that you can do it with the decals, only very quickly. This video is primarily to focus on photo etch and ribbon seatbelts. I'll try and put a link in the description below for all the products I use for the belts. I've had them for quite some time, so hopefully I can still find them. But basically it's double-sided tape, the photo etch set, and the ribbon in the appropriate size and colour. So hopefully all the links will be in the description below. As always, if you've got any questions, please ask. So there we are. So right, let's crack on with the video and let's get these belts installed. Okay, so this is where we were last time in the last video. The seat's been all painted up in our textured paint. We've decaled it all, including the carbon decals on the back. Our holes are there ready for our belts. Now there's a few ways to do the belts. Number one, use the kit decals. Use the Waterslide decals. Apply them in the same way we applied other decals. Set them in place. Give them a matte varnish. And there you go. They look okay. They don't look great at all. The other way you can do it is you can cut around the decals with some scissors. Leave them on the backing paper and stick them in place like that. That then gives a 3D effect. I've never done this myself, but I have seen it done, and it doesn't look too bad at all. So if you don't go down the route of photo etch like these, that's another way to do it. Now these are Hgw Fabric Belts. Well, these are actually paper. I've used one of these before, and wasn't too keen on them, to be honest. Found them a little bit unrealistic looking. So I moved on to these sets. Now these are sets from KA Models, which is very hard to get. I can only seem to get it from Australia. And a Studio 27 set as well. Now, the Studio 27 set is for 3mm belts, and the KA Models is for 2mm belts. So it depends which way you want to go. I'll be honest, I started off using the 2mm, and I've now moved on to the 3mm because I think they look a little bit better. This is some generic 3mm red ribbon off eBay. This cost about £4 for 50 meters. I got it in red and blue. And I've got the same in 2mm ribbon as well. A little bit more expensive and difficult to find, as you can see. I've got a whole bundle of blue that's everywhere. No chance of sorting that, so it stays like that. The 2mm seems a bit more difficult to find. This is my 1.5mm, 2mm double-sided tape. Again, off eBay. And these are the Waterslide decals that come with the Studio 27 set for our harness pads and maker brands. So just normal decals there, as always. So like I say, I used to use the 2mm. I've now moved on to the 3mm. Other tools we've got as well are our photo etch cutters, our PE bending tool, and some decent tweezers as well. So in this part, we're going to use the Studio 27 set. All my belt detail set and ribbon, etc., all live in that little box. So, like I said, we're going to use the 3mm Studio 27 set in this, which does involve a little bit of cutting of some photo etch and some bending. Like I say, if you don't feel you're up to this, use the kit decals, either cut them out or apply them as a water slide. But for me, and as you'll see at the end, these look great. So we're going to start off using these 2 parts here. We'll use all 4 of these on this belt. It's quite thick PE, so you need some decent cutters. It's just a case of snipping them out and getting them in place. So each end of this photo etch is going to need bending up, and this gives us our actual, that's the main harness part that you can see on the model. So if we zoom in, and I can get to focus, let's have a look. There you go. You see on the very edge there is a preformed line which we're going to pop on my small shop tools bending tool, and as you see, we put it up to the line on the tool. Make sure it's straight. Tighten it up. Then get our razor blade. And quick as a flash, quick bend upright, and we've got a 90-degree bend in the photo etch. Now the photo etch tool is a bit of a luxury. You can buy pliers. There's numerous other ways of doing it. Because of how small that photo etch part is that needs bending, it's very difficult with pliers. So, you know, these tools can be picked up pretty cheap. You can pick up the smaller version of this for £20. It's an invaluable tool. If you're going to do any PE at all, it literally is invaluable. I've had this for a long time. It's had a lot of use. And as you can see, there we go. Nicely bent up. A little bit of filing needed on the edges of each side, which we'll deal with later. And as you can see, we've got the top part which is slightly wider and the bottom part which isn't. And that will become apparent in a bit. So we're going to grab some of our 3mm ribbon. Again, I'll put the description, the link in the description down below. I'm going to cut it on an angle. The angle is very important, and that'll become apparent why. Now, we need to thread the ribbon through the PE. Now, this will either go through first time, really easy, not a bother, or it's going to take you about 10 attempts. It's quite infuriating, and it can take some time. So we're going to pop it from the front through the back. There you go, first time through. We're then going to trim it off straight and grab some of our double-sided tape to tape that over. Now, the reason for cutting on an angle, the point is easier to get through the gap than a flat part. It also gives us a sharpened point of the edge of the ribbon, which again is easy to push through, and you're going to get less fraying on the ribbon, because once it frays, that's the part where you've got to start again. And when I say we don't go through first time, you're going to keep cutting and cutting and cutting until you go through. So always cut off more ribbon than you think you need to allow for this. So we'll put a little bit of probably 4mm of double-sided tape on there. Stick it on the back of the ribbon, as you can see. So that is the front of the photo etch as we see it through the top big part of the slot. And we're going to fold it over backwards. Take the PE right up to the edge of the double-sided tape. Fold it over. Allow the tape to grab, then use your tweezers. Straighten everything up and give it a good press. So that folded part is now hidden behind the belt. So the parts we actually folded are facing forward. We put the tape in, the ribbon through the front of the belt buckle, as you'll see in a second. So my hands, I am modelling, so they do get dirty, unfortunately. And then the folded over part is at the back, as we can see. So you've got 4 of these parts to make, which can take some time, but once you get used to doing it, you can get quite quick. I'm literally going to show assembling each component of the belt. Not every component, but each section that is required. So as you can see, there's the front of our belt. Excuse me. There's the part we just folded through and folded back. So now we're coming through the back of the same part of the loop that ribbon went through. We're then going to pull that through. That is why that top part is thicker. As you can see, we go through in one go, a little bit out of focus, but there we are. So we're going to pull it through. There we are. Pull through quite a bit. Now what we need to do now, so there you go, they've both gone through the same hole. One went through the back, front to the back, and this one's gone from the back through the front. So we're going to trim it. So again, we trimmed a fresh piece on an angle, and now we're going to loop it back over and through the front part. And again, it's either going to go through first time, which it's a miracle, it really is. You'll see why when you try it for yourself. And there we go, we pull it all the way through, and then pull it tight. Make sure it's straight, where we want it. As you can see, there's the front part of our harness buckle now. So that's the part the driver pulls down to tighten up on the real car. So you want to leave a little bit of excess overhang, as we've done there, because that is the part they pull to tighten the belt. So we get some of our double-sided tape. Now you'll notice I use my PE Xuron cutters for this. I find the best for cutting the ribbon and the tape, and it saves switching tools. So again, chuck a little bit of double-sided tape in there. Remove the back in. Make sure it's all straight and lined up. Touch it together, and voila, job done. Any excess ribbon can be removed either with tweezers, or if it's still attached, you need your cutters. or as a very, very last resort for a fray, you can use a quick pass of a lighter. So there we go. There's one side of the front part of the harness done. So like I say, you've got 4 parts of these to do. So it's going to take you a while. Now we're going to get a rough measurement. So what you want now, you want enough harness at the top of that belt where it goes through the holes to allow the decal on. So leave about 3/4 to an inch there for the decal. We're then going to grab the bottom of it, trim it to length where we think we want to go, and we're going to chamfer the ends as such, like so, to give us a slight point. It doesn't have to be exact, and you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to get some of our 2mm ribbon. I hope I'm explaining this okay for everybody. You might have to watch this a few times to understand what I'm on about, but it is really easy. So we've got some 2mm ribbon. Now we're looking for one of our 2mm harness clip points, I suppose they're called. I don't know. Actual harness points themselves. Now, while the other part we just did was 3mm, these are 2mm. And as you'll see, what we're going to do, we're going to pop this through. And then fold that back, stick it on like we did before. Then this is going to get attached to that last piece we made. And this gives us the reduction in size down required to give the look. So we've got it on, slide it down a little bit, grab our double-sided tape. This double-sided tape is fantastic for these belts. I've not had one single piece pop up. If you watch my latest bench updates from a couple of days ago, you saw that the only part on the harness on the Subaru that did pop up was the bit I tried to super glue on. So, lesson learned, use the tape. It's very sticky, and it works brilliantly. So you fold it over, there we go. Now all we need to do with this is we can cut these 2 parts flush together, because all we need is the very end. You don't see any of the ribbon really as such. So we're going to cut them flush. Going to grab some more double-sided tape. It's got a habit of flying off this stuff, so yeah, you're all going to go through some. You're going to lose some. You're going to waste quite a bit of ribbon as well, but it's so cheap, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, the 2mm is a bit more expensive than the 3, and a bit more difficult to find, I've found as well. So there we go, we've got our piece we've just made. It doesn't matter which way around it goes, we're just going to pop it on, so we get ever so slightly, a little bit of the 2mm ribbon showing, and the end of the buckle too. And there you go. So that gives us a reduction down in size, which is perfect. Like I say, you can then pop this through the back of the seat on an angle. Like I say, you want to leave enough room at the top of this part to allow our decal to go on. So, there's, like I said, there's 4 of these components to make. You got 4 of the side waist part to make, and 2 of the front lap crotch belts to make as well. So like I said, I'm just going to show one. I'm going to stick it in place, and then I'll assemble all the other parts off camera. So like I say, eye this up so you've got enough room left at the top to apply one of those decals we shown earlier. These are Sparco belts, so we know which one we want. I would say it's 3/4 of an inch to an inch, so 18 to 24mm. There we go, we'll lay it in place. A little bit of a droop down the bottom, get rid of that hair, see you later. And that is perfect and ready for the next part. So, if I remember right in the instructions, again it calls out for the 3mm to 2mm tape, but it's a nightmare getting it through the side of the seat. So I cheat and I just use the 2mm. So we grab another one of these buckles we did on the bottom of the shoulder pads. And I'm going to pop it through exactly the same way, fold it over, and tape it in place. Now, just quickly, hopefully I can talk while we're doing this. I'm using red belts on this car, but the real car actually has blue belts, so bear that in mind. The reason I'm using red belts is twofold, primarily for the second reason, but also for this reason. The kit comes with red belts in the decals, so I thought that made sense, because some of you are going to use the decals, so it's going to get red belts, but the real car does have blue belts, trust me. But for secondly, the main reason is you can see the red belts a lot clearer on camera than blue. I did check it beforehand, and I thought, you know what, we'll stick red belts in, although the real car does have blue. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's your model at the end of the day, whether that's a cliche or not. It is. So if you're using the decals, cutting the decals out, using ribbon belts, not putting anything on there at all, that's your prerogative and entirely up to you. So we built that little part at the bottom, as you can see. I've foolishly forgotten to put my double-sided tape underneath it before I popped it in. But through sheer blind luck and determination, I will get it on there. Bear with me. Make yourself a cup of tea while I'm doing this. Yeah, anyway, we give up. We pull it out. Yeah, get your double-sided tape on before you put the parts through, or it makes it an absolute nightmare to get them through there. Like I say, you've got 4 of these to assemble as well. These are a lot quicker, these parts, because there's only 2 components. And we're just going to slot it through the side of the seat. These are the holes we made in part 6. Sorry, I'm off camera. There we go. We're just slotting it through, making sure we're getting in the right place. So with this seat, when I'm done, because like I say, I have the blue belts pre-installed in the other car I built, and it's also a flocked seat, which I will cover in part 8. I'll very quickly go through that. I'm not going to show it because it makes such a mess. My other car I built previously has flock seats and the proper blue belts that I want to put in. After this build, I will more than likely swap seats in it. Because at the end of the day, whilst I'm doing this for this build, it is obviously my model as well. Right, now on the Studio 27 PE set, we're grabbing the lower crotch harness point. So this is a single point harness with the actual buckle release built into it. As you can see, there it is. We'll get it off eventually. I'm not sure quite what I'm doing. There we go. Well done, Paul. Put that on side. We need some more of the 2mm tape, ribbon. And we're just going to pop it through. Like so. It's honestly, it's a sheer miracle that every single one of these pieces of ribbon has gone through first time. And trust me, if you've built this before, or you attempt it yourself, yeah, the air will be blue. Trust me. It will be, but it's like sheer luck at every single one of my parts I've used so far has gone through first time. What tends to happen is the ribbon will hit the PE, it frays, and it just won't go through, and you've just got to cut it again and try again. So like I say, always cut a little bit extra ribbon than you think, so that when you are cutting it, you don't have to keep replacing the ribbon all the time. Nothing more infuriating than finally getting the ribbon through the slot, and find out it's too short. Been there, done that. It's rather frustrating. So we just slid it all the way through, equal length either side. You wouldn't know because I'm off camera, but that's what I have done. There we go. We just put some double-sided tape on one end, and then we need to figure out how it goes. So basically, you've got opposing ends. So you have a piece of double-sided tape one end, and then it'll go the opposite end, opposite side on the other end, because we're going to fold these over and stick them down, as you'll see in a second. So we're going to whip our backing paper off some point today. Go on, Paul, you can do it. Hey, there we go at last. And then we grab our other end, there we go, off straight away, and then we're going to fold it like so. So you see what I mean? Because you've got opposite ends, they need to go opposite sides. So we're going to put these over the front of the seat. So the buckle rests on the top of the seat, and the harness material heads underneath. And this is my mistake now. I didn't add any tape to the back of the buckle. I later on tried to CA glue it, which didn't work. So always use the tape. Now we've got some of our CA glue. This is the Rocket. It's the yellow bottle one I always use. We need our harness release now. So there they are. It's part number 21, is it? 21. So off these harness sets, you're probably going to get about half a dozen vehicles off it. They cost about £20. They're not cheap. But when you divide that by 6, it works out about, what, £3-ish per model. It's not bad. I love the look of the belts. They look fantastic, as you'll see in a little bit. And I think they are worth the expense. The ribbon is about £3 to £4 for the 3mm, and the same for the 2, where you get a lot less of the 2mm for your money. And the double-sided tapes for £4 odd. So long term, the ribbon's going to last you a long time. The double-sided tape will as well. The only expense you're going to have periodically is the actual photo etch, and they are quite difficult to find at times as well. So we've applied a little dot of CA glue to that buckle, and we're going to put the buckle release on there. Try and get it straight if we can. Little dab of CA glue, and then try and turn it. There we are, we got it off. Put it in place. You can always put a little wash in that later on, should you wish. No drama at all. So there we go. Okay, so we've made up one part of each component. They've now all been assembled, and we have our decals in place as well. Decals applied as with any decal in the decaling video. We've got the back off, we've stuck them on, used some of the setting solutions to try and get it in place. It doesn't tend to work great on these decals, I've noticed. I have a little trick which I shall show you in a second. Be careful when applying the decals. They are tricky because they're not sticking to plastic. It's fabric. They don't stick as well. But as you can see, the belts look very good. The side belts are just stuck through the side and stuck to the side of the seat. Like I said, I do cheat a little bit. You do get the fixing points for the car, but I find it's not worth doing. So we've got some Mr. Leveling thinner now from Mr. Hobby. Excuse me. And we're going to get one of our normal brushes. And what we're going to do, it's a very quick, easy tip, but you've got to be very careful. We're going to go over the decal once. Like so. And what this does is melt the bejesus out of the decal. Literally, if you go over it again after putting it on once, like that, silly boy, you may lose the decal. Now what this will do, it will almost instantly melt the decal to the fabric. See, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I shouldn't do it. Oh. What it will do, it will instantly melt the decal to the fabric. And what I like that it does is it makes it look like it's printed on rather than just sitting on top. So hopefully we'll see it. I'm just checking the time. Yeah, it's time to show the decals. As you can see, there we are. So rather than sitting on top, they've actually melted into the belts now. And they look as though they are sewn in and look fantastic now. It's a massive difference, but you've got to be very careful. Just to go over very quickly. Not make a real hash of what you're doing. So we're going to glue the seats in place now. So we've got some of our yellow Rocket CA glue. As you see, all the components are there from last time, as in our last video. And we're going to liberally apply some CA glue to the side. Oh, got a message on Facebook. We're going to apply the CA glue to the side of the seat mounts. Oh, got another message. Who's that? Sorry, I'm busy right now. So liberally apply it. Don't go mad. I don't mean you can put tons on it, but definitely put enough on there that it covers the entire area. And we're then going to glue our seats in place. We'll go push. Make sure you get the correct seat in the correct place. The drivers' names are often on the seats. Make sure you get the co-pilot and the driver's seat the correct way around. Any excess CA glue wipe off. And there we go. As you can see, we've got plenty of excess ribbon material at the back, and that's where we're going to attach it to the roll cage. So making sure we're in the correct position, and then grab the roll cage. I'm going to check fit and position. Try and feed through the belts beforehand. It's not always possible, and you need a bit of dexterity with your tweezers. That's it. Just keep checking the placement and the fit. Get your roll cage roughly in place. Get those ribbons pulled through. There we go. What we now need to do is trim them to length and affix them in place. Now, you can either use the tape, which is a bit hit and miss in this way, or you can use CA glue. I'm going to use a dab of CA glue. We're going to get the roll cage in position first. So we're just going to pull it slightly out of position one side, add a dab of CA glue on each side. Make sure we get it just where we want it. And then we can push all 4 corners fully home, and that is secured in place. There we go, to the back as well. Check position, push it in place. Obviously don't push down from the top because you will break the roll cage. Use those side parts you painted black and lightly push it home. There we go. Check it's all in the right place, because once the CA glue's dry, there's not really any going back. Make sure all the parts are in the correct place. If it needs any more, pop a little bit more on. And you're good to go. There we go. A couple of seconds holding it in place, and we're done. So now we're going to figure out which belt goes where. We're going to roughly pull it to length. Now, ideally, you want a little bit of sag on the belts, because when the driver's on in there, they are loose. But if not, don't particularly worry about it. So what we're going to do, we're going to trim them to the back part. Roughly the length we want. And then a dab of CA glue around the back of that roll bar. And that will hold it in position. So if you wanted to, you could fully wrap it round, use some of the PE parts in the kit, and have the full adjustability part of it shown. But I've tried it, you can't really see it anyway, and I find this way easier. Like I say, I've found shortcuts that work for me. I'm happy doing it this way. It might not be the best way, it might not look the best, it might not be the correct way of the real car, but for me, that's how I do it. So we pop some CA glue on the roll cage. We pop the ribbon around it, hold it on, try and give a little bit of slack in it if we can. If not, well, it's just one of those. We've actually pulled the belt up a little bit there, as you see, being a bit too vigorous, so we need to pull it back a little bit. Stick it in place. So just be aware when you're pulling those belts, you're not actually pulling it too far back. So we've got our next part. It's going to glue in place exactly the same way. Like I said, I think these belts are well worth the extra time. Must have taken half an hour or so to show the parts, so it's probably an hour's to build for me. First time you do it, it's going to take you a lot longer. I've built dozens of these now, and you do get very quick at doing it. So there we go. There's one side of the belt on. I'm going to do the other, and we'll be back in a second. So all our belts are in place now. We've also got the helmet holder in the back. As you can see, it's underneath the belt. You need to slot that through carefully. It takes a little bit of manipulation to get in there. And now we're going to stick our dashboard in place. So we're just going to dry fit it. Make sure we're in the right part. I mean, lift up one side. Again, a bit more CA glue. You're going to use, well, not liberal amounts, but enough it's going to grab it. Either side. Be aware, don't get it all over the dash or all over your fingers and then spread it to the rest of the vehicle. It looks terrible if you get it everywhere. A couple of locating points. Make sure we're on. Give it a little hold for a couple of seconds. And that's us job done. So there you go, there's the dashboard in place. Starting to look like a cockpit now. As you can see, the belts in red really do stand out, hence the reason for me doing them red. And there we go. Right, door cards. So these have been masked up, painted and weathered as per the instructions. We use UMP grey and black primer as the paints. We use a little bit of Tamiya grey panel line wash. I think we showed that in the last video. And now we're going to glue these in situ. A couple of locating points along the bottom of the sills. And often a locating point higher up on the roll cage too. So again, generous amount of CA glue. Be careful you don't get this all over your fingers now. This is an easy point how that happens. Keep your fingers away from the glue. Again, get it in place. A couple of seconds hold until the CA glue gets some purchase on where we want. Like I said, there's a point on the roll cage at the top. Just there. That's it, we're getting on the dashboard too. There we go, there's one side. The beauty of CA glue, it dries almost instantly. Well, it grabs almost instantly. And again, a little amount the other side. And we'll pop it in place here too. So really starting to look like a cabin of a car now. Really coming alive. And there we go. There's both door cards on and looking the part. Okay, one thing as well I put on, there's a decal that goes on the roll cage, number 38, and it simulates the tax disc we have in the UK. So don't forget to put that on, because sod's law, you'll close it all up and realise you've forgotten it. Mine's already on, so we're going to move on now to the interior mirror. So interior mirror is painted in Tamiya X18. We then used a Molotow pen to simulate the mirrored finish. And then that again is stuck in place under the roll cage. There's a little hole that it sits in. So there we go, all assembled. We've got the wheels on as well. With the wheels, push them in place and turn and gently push to get them on. Make sure you get the tyres orientated in the right direction as per the instructions and you'll be fine. But like I say, get them in place and very lightly twist them in situ. If you have problems, it may be paint build-up or something else, so remove any paint from the back of the stubs and you'll get it in. And if you want, use a little bit of lubrication, a little bit of shower gel works well, believe it or not, and get them in place. You just got to push it past the poly caps. But there we go, we're all done. Looking good, and on to the next part. There we go, so that's all the interior finished. All we're going to do is put the interior mirror on when I find it, because I've lost it. It's gone somewhere and I don't know where. But I do have spares, so if not, I'll dig one out of the spares. Just make sure, take your time reading instructions and making sure you've got everything in there. Getting the body shells on and off isn't necessarily difficult, but it's a step that you don't want to be repeating if you can help it, because you run the risk of damaging things or what have you. So make sure all the interior is done and as you like it before you start even thinking about moving on. And there we go. So I hope you found that useful. We'll be back next week for part 8, in which we'll be dealing with polishing up the body, getting the window rubbers around the outside masked up and sprayed. I know a lot of people have asked about that as well. And we'll probably deal with masking the interior glass and painting up and detailing the exterior glass as well. So there we go. So we'll be back next Sunday for part 8, I think it is. And we're getting really close to finishing this now, which is fantastic. So as always, check out the Scale Modeler Facebook page and forum. Check out umpretail.com. Check out my Paul ISM Facebook page where all my personal modelling stuff gets shared. Check out the Modelling Hangout group. All the Hangout links are put up every night. Come join us. All you need is a webcam, a mic and a Google Plus account. You can join us off air, in private, and have a laugh with us. It's good fun, and you'll make I got a good couple of new friends doing it that way. And check out the Live at the Bench group as well for our Friday night live show, which is on every Friday, 7:30 UK, 8:30 Europe, 1:30 Central US. There you go. So we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.